Let me ask you a question. How do you know when a relationship has crossed the line from love into destruction? It doesn't happen overnight. It happens quietly, when small red flags keep piling up until you wake up one day and realize you're no longer the man you used to be. That's the danger. The longer you stay blind to it, the more of your time, your peace, and your self-respect you lose. Today, I'll walk you through the 5 unmistakable signs that tell you it's time to leave immediately. As a psychologist and relationship coach, I've spent years listening to men who didn't realize the damage until they were already broken down. And I don't want you to be one of them. So before we get into the details, make sure you subscribe, give this video a like, and share your own experience in the comments. Have you ever spotted a red flag too late? Your story might help another man wake up. Now let's break this down, because the first sign is the foundation of how emotional manipulation begins. Number 1, gaslighting. When she makes you doubt yourself. You bring up something that bothered you, and she looks you straight in the eye and says, "That never happened." The first time, you laugh it off, thinking maybe you remembered wrong. The third time, you feel uneasy. By the 10th, you're no longer sure if you can trust your own memory. That is gaslighting, and it is one of the most destructive games anyone can play with your mind. Here's the truth. A relationship can survive mistakes, disagreements, even fights. But it cannot survive when your reality is being rewritten in front of you. Gaslighting works like rust. It eats at your confidence slowly, until one day you wake up and you don't recognize the man in the mirror. Psychologically, gaslighting is a way to gain control. If she can make you doubt your perception, she doesn't have to change her behavior. Sometimes this tactic is intentional. Other times it comes from fear, shame, or immaturity. But whether it's malicious or defensive, the outcome is the same. You become a man who second-guesses himself at every turn. You apologize for things you didn't do. You wonder if you're being too sensitive. And eventually, you hand over your power because you no longer trust your own voice. So what do? First, anchor yourself in facts. Write them down. Keep a record of agreements, conversations, and boundaries. You don't have to become an investigator. You just need to protect your reality from being stolen. Second, when you bring it up, stay calm and specific. Say, "When I share an experience and you deny it, I start to doubt myself, and that's damaging to us." That's clear. That's adult. It removes the smoke she can hide behind. Now, here's the critical part. If she takes responsibility, if she says, "You're right, I did say that, and I'll work on it," then there's room for growth. But if she doubles down, if she mocks you for being too sensitive, or if she flips the blame back on you, then you have your answer. She's not interested in repairing the relationship. She's interested in keeping control. And you, my friend, need to ask yourself a hard question. Have you been silent just to keep the peace? Because silence in the face of gaslighting isn't peace. It's slow self-destruction. Every time you swallow your truth, you're teaching her that your reality is negotiable. A man who gives up his reality gives up his backbone, and without that, you can't lead yourself, let alone a relationship. Remember this. A woman who truly loves you will never make you feel insane for remembering what actually happened. She won't erase your truth to protect herself. If you're constantly editing your words, watering down your feelings, or questioning your sanity just to stay with her, that's not love. It's corrosion. You deserve a relationship where your perception matters, where your words land, where your memory is respected. If you can't have that, you don't have a partner. You have a manipulator. And manipulators don't stop until you stop them. So take this seriously. Recognize the pattern, call it out once with clarity, and if it repeats, understand that you are not dealing with a miscommunication. You are dealing with a reality war, and no man can thrive in a reality where his truth is constantly erased. Because when she twists your reality long enough, the next stage always comes. She stops respecting your boundaries, and once those are gone, the erosion only gets worse. Number 2, boundary disrespect. When she crosses the lines you set. Every healthy relationship is built on boundaries. Boundaries are not walls. They're agreements that protect respect, trust, and peace. They say, this is who I am, this is what I need, and this is how I expect to be treated. But if you've ever told a woman, I need some space today, and she reacted with anger, or you said, I'm not comfortable with you checking my phone, and she laughed it off and did it anyway, then you've witnessed the slow death of boundaries. Here's the psychological truth. When someone ignores your limits, they're sending you a message. That message is, my comfort matters more than your well-being. My curiosity matters more than your privacy. My desires matter more than your peace. Sometimes this comes from immaturity, from a belief that true love means no boundaries. But other times it's about power. If she can cross your lines without consequence, she learns she can own more of your space, your time, and eventually, your identity. Let's be clear, one slip-up is human. Everyone makes mistakes. But when boundary breaking becomes a pattern, when she rolls her eyes every time you say no or treats your requests as negotiable, you're not in a partnership, you're in a takeover. So how do you respond? First, define your boundaries with clarity. Don't hint, don't suggest. Say it plain. I need privacy on my phone. I won't tolerate yelling. I need one evening a week to recharge alone. Boundaries are not suggestions, they're standards. Second, enforce them consistently. A boundary you announce but don't protect is just a wish list. If she violates your line, there has to be a consequence. Not yelling, not threats, but action. That might mean ending the conversation, walking away, or refusing to engage until respect is restored. Now let's flip the mirror. Ask yourself, have you truly held the line? Or have you drawn it in sand and watched it wash away the moment she pushed back? Did you say, I won't accept this, only to cave in later just to avoid conflict? Because if you keep folding, you're not protecting your peace. You're teaching her that your boundaries are negotiable. And a negotiable boundary is no boundary at all. You need to understand this. A woman who respects you will test your limits, but once she knows they're real, she'll adapt. A woman who doesn't respect you will keep pushing, because to her, every no is just the start of a debate. And if you play that game, you'll lose more than arguments. You'll lose yourself. Think about the cost. Every ignored no chips away at your identity. Every dismissed request tells you you're not worthy of respect. Over time, you start to shrink inside the relationship until you're nothing but a shadow of the man you once were. And make no mistake, when your boundaries collapse, your self-worth collapses right with them. So here's the cold truth. A woman who tramples your boundaries isn't a partner. She's a liability. And the longer you tolerate it, the more expensive she becomes, not in money, but in peace, confidence, and dignity. If you've been struggling with this, remember, protecting your boundary doesn't make you difficult, it makes you strong. Saying no is not rejection, it's respect. Respect for yourself and respect for the relationship. And if she can't handle that, then what you have is not love. It's control dressed up as connection. And once boundaries fall, another pattern always follows. The blame shifts, the spotlight turns, and suddenly, you're not just the man with no lines, you're the villain in every story. Number 3, victim playing, when she always makes you the villain. You know this script. No matter what happens, somehow it ends up being your fault. She forgets to call, but you didn't remind her. She snaps at you, but you pushed her into it. She hides something, but you didn't love her enough. Every wrong turn in the relationship gets twisted back toward you until you start feeling like the permanent bad guy in your own story. That's not conflict resolution. That's victim playing, and it's one of the fastest ways to drain the life out of a man. Here's the psychology behind it. Playing the victim is emotional armor. If she positions herself as the one who's always hurt, then she never has to take responsibility. It's a shield against accountability. Sometimes it comes from fear. Maybe she can't tolerate the shame of being wrong. Sometimes it's learned behavior from past relationships where guilt was a survival tool. But whatever the reason, the effect on you is brutal. When every road leads back to your guilt, you stop trying to fix anything. Why? Because you're already guilty before the trial even begins. This isn't just exhausting, it's dangerous. Over time, constant blame rewires how you see yourself. You stop asking, "Did I do something wrong?" and start asking, "What's wrong with me?" That's how self-doubt metastasizes into self-loathing. And that is not the soil where a man grows. So what do you do when the blame game is the default setting? Step 1. Refuse to play. Don't argue in circles. Don't get caught in emotional quicksand trying to prove your innocence. State facts calmly and clearly. I hear that you feel hurt, but that doesn't mean this is all my fault. Step 2. Shift the dynamic toward accountability. Say, I'm willing to own my part, but I need you to own yours too. A balanced partner will step up. A chronic victim will double down. Either way, you get clarity. Now let's turn the spotlight on you. Ask yourself, have you been so desperate to keep peace that you've absorbed blame just to end the argument? Have you nodded along to accusations you didn't believe, thinking it would calm her down? Because if you keep doing that, you're not avoiding conflict. You're feeding a monster. Every false confession you make strengthens her belief that she's always right and you're always wrong. That's not love. That's training. And you're training her to see you as the culprit in every fight. Understand this. No healthy relationship is built on one person carrying all the guilt. Love is built on shared responsibility. If she cannot admit her part, she's not building with you. She's building on top of you. And sooner or later, that weight will crush you. Here's the bottom line. You are not a scapegoat. You are not a punching bag for misplaced guilt. A woman who truly values you will be willing to say, yes, I messed up. She won't always get it right, but she will at least acknowledge her humanity. If she never does, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a trial that never ends, with a sentence that only gets longer. And if you keep standing in the defendant's chair, don't be surprised when you lose sight of your own innocence. That's the cost of staying with someone who never drops the victim act. Because when you're cast as the villain long enough, something else starts to happen. She doesn't just take your confidence, she begins to take your most valuable currency, your time. And that's the next sign you need to recognize before it's too late. Number 4, disrespecting time. When she treats your time like it's disposable. Time is the one resource you can never earn back. Money can be replaced. Energy can be restored. But once a minute is gone, it's gone forever. And yet, some women will treat your time like it's cheap, like you'll always wait, like you'll always be available. She says she'll meet you at 7, and she shows up at 8 without apology. She cancels plans with you at the last minute, but expects you to understand. She spends hours scrolling or chatting with others, but acts like you're demanding when you ask for a small slice of her attention. At first, you brush it off. You tell yourself she's just busy, just distracted, just stressed. But if it keeps happening, if it becomes a pattern, you start to notice something darker. It's not just about poor time management. It's about value. She's showing you, in plain sight, how much or how little she prioritizes you. Psychologically, time is respect. When someone shows up on time, they're saying, you matter. Your schedule matters. Your life matters. When someone constantly disrespects your time, the message is the opposite. You'll wait. You'll adjust. You'll bend. Because my priorities are more important than yours. Sometimes it's immaturity. Sometimes it's entitlement. But either way, the effect is the same. You feel like an afterthought. So how do you deal with it? Start by setting a standard. Tell her clearly. If we make plans, I expect us to stick to them. If something changes, I need to know ahead of time. You're not being controlling. You're asking for basic respect. Next, pay attention to consistency. Everyone slips up once. But if lateness, cancellations, and broken plans keep stacking up, it's not bad luck. It's a habit. And habits reveal character. Now comes the part most men avoid. Consequences. If she disrespects your time, stop rewarding it. Don't wait endlessly while she gets ready. Don't reschedule 10 times just because she flaked. If she's late without notice, leave. If she cancels at the last second, don't rush to fit her back in. You're not punishing her. You're showing her that your time has value. And if she can't respect it, she doesn't deserve it. But before you point the finger only at her, ask yourself, have you been giving your time away too freely? Have you been dropping everything for her while neglecting your own priorities? Have you made her the center of your schedule while she barely makes space for you in hers? Because if you don't value your own time, why should she? Respect starts with you. Understand this. When a woman constantly wastes your time, she's not just being careless. She's shaping the rhythm of the relationship. She's teaching you that her delays, her cancellations, her distractions are normal, and that your needs will always be second. That's not love. That's disregard. Here's the harsh truth. A woman who truly values you will guard your time as fiercely as her own. She won't always be perfect, but she'll make the effort. If she doesn't, if she keeps treating your time like it's optional, you need to stop asking why she doesn't respect you and start asking why you're letting her. Because time is not just hours on a clock. It's your life. And if she's willing to waste your time now, she's telling you she's willing to waste your life later. And once she stops respecting your time, the slide continues. Because what follows next is even colder. Not only does she steal your hours, she eventually stops giving any effort at all. Number 5. Stopping effort. When she no longer invests in the relationship. At the beginning, everything feels alive. She dresses up for you. She asks about your day. She surprises you with small acts that make you feel chosen. That's effort. That's care. That's investment. But over time, something shifts. The compliments fade. The energy dies. She no longer listens when you talk, no longer reaches for your hand, no longer shows interest in making plans for the future. It's not that she's angry. It's not that she's busy. It's that she's stopped trying. And that is one of the clearest signs you can't ignore. Relationships don't collapse overnight. They wither when one partner stops showing up. When she puts in zero effort, she's telling you, without words, you don't inspire me anymore. I'm not invested here. Sometimes it's temporary, caused by stress or fatigue. But if weeks turn into months, if neglect becomes the new normal, then you're not in a relationship. You're in a holding pattern, waiting for something that's already gone. Psychologically, effort is the oxygen of intimacy. Without it, the connection suffocates. Small gestures, asking how you're doing, planning quality time, offering affection, these are the signs that someone values the bond. When those vanish, it's not just laziness, it's detachment. And detachment kills love faster than conflict ever could. So what can you do? First, diagnose the cause. Is this a temporary slump? Maybe she's under pressure at work, dealing with family stress, or fighting her own battles. If that's the case, communication is key. Ask directly, I feel distance between us. Is something going on? If she opens up and you see effort to repair, there's room to rebuild. But if she shrugs it off, denies there's a problem, or shows no interest in putting energy back into the relationship, then you have clarity. You can't revive a connection alone. One person can't do the work of two. And the more you chase, the more you shrink. Now here's where you need to be brutally honest with yourself. Are you carrying this relationship on your back? Are you making excuses for her silence, her disinterest, her lack of care? Have you been telling yourself, she'll come around, while months go by with no change? Because that's not patience, that's denial. And denial is expensive. It costs you your time, your energy, your dignity. Understand this. Attraction might spark a relationship, but effort sustains it. Without consistent effort from both sides, what you have is not love, it's inertia. A woman who stops investing in you has already withdrawn, even if her body is still beside you. And if you stay, you're agreeing to live with a ghost of what once was. Here's the hard punch. When a woman stops trying, the love you once had is gone. You can't breathe life back into something she's already decided to let die. The only question left is whether you're going to keep waiting by the graveside, or whether you'll walk away and choose life for yourself. Because these 5 signs aren't random annoyances. They're alarms. Each one chips away at your confidence, your peace, your self-respect. Ignore them long enough, and you'll forget who you were before the erosion began. And once all 5 show up, gaslighting, broken boundaries, victim games, wasted time, and zero effort, there's no mistaking it anymore. What you're in is not a relationship. It's a slow demolition, and the only way out is through the door. You've now seen the 5 signs: gaslighting, boundary violations, victim games, wasted time, and the absence of effort. Each of them on their own is enough to corrode a relationship. Together, they form a pattern that no man should tolerate. Let me be clear. One mistake doesn't equal the end. Everyone slips up. Everyone has bad days. But when these behaviors become a cycle, when they repeat without remorse or repair, that's not a slip. That's a system. And systems don't change just because you hope they will. The question isn't whether she's perfect. No one is. The real question is whether she shows up with respect, accountability, and consistent effort. If the answer is no, then you need to face a hard truth. You are not in a relationship worth saving. You are in a situation draining the very things you need to thrive: your confidence, your energy, your peace. And here's what I want you to remember. You are not powerless. You are not a passive victim in your own life. You have the right to draw the line, to say, enough, to walk away from what destroys you. Choosing to leave is not weakness. It's strength. It's leadership over your own life. Picture this. If she's dimming your light, stop trying to keep the flame alive in a place that only wants to smother it. Step out of the shadows and into the space where your light shines without apology. That's where you belong, not stuck in someone else's game, but standing fully in your own worth. If any of these 5 signs hit home for you, don't ignore them. Don't rationalize them. Don't wait for change that never comes. Your time, your peace, and your self-respect are worth more than that. And if you're ready to stop wasting time on the wrong people, make sure you subscribe, like, and comment. Because the truth is, most men never hear these warnings until it's too late. But you're here, you're awake, and now you know. Don't just listen. Act. You've probably met her, the woman who made you feel like you were finally enough, until every moment with her became a test you couldn't pass. You started doubting yourself, losing sleep, losing focus, losing control. And you still can't explain how she did it. The truth is, there are 8 types of women built to make men chase, overgive, and eventually break. They don't ruin you overnight. They do it slowly, softly, until you forget who you were before them. In this video, I'll walk you through every one of them, what they look like, how they think, and how to recognize the danger before it begins. There's something no one tells men about relationships. Manipulation rarely looks like manipulation. It looks like affection, like vulnerability, like someone who just needs a little help. That's how you get hooked. Not through deceit, but through empathy. And the more you care, the deeper she goes. This video isn't about women versus men. It's about seeing the invisible patterns that keep men stuck in emotional quicksand. Because once you understand what's really happening, you can't be played again. If you're ready to see what most men never notice, hit like and subscribe. You're about to gain clarity that changes everything. Tell me in the comments. Do you believe manipulation always starts with intention, or can it be unconscious? Keep watching. Because the first kind of woman we'll uncover hides her control behind something every man misunderstands as love. Number 1. The spendthrift. She doesn't love you. She loves the feeling of spending your money. You'll meet her when you're doing well enough to stand on your own feet, but still trying to build something solid. She'll appear fascinated by your drive, your plans, your ambition. But soon, you'll notice something subtle. Her affection grows only when you're spending. A dinner, a trip, a little surprise that always turns into a statement piece. Every moment of connection comes with a price tag. Spendthrift women speak the language of money as a tool of validation. In their minds, love is not a bond, it's a transaction that must constantly prove itself through gifts, indulgence, and upgrades. They don't say, "I care for you." They say, "If you cared, you would." And each time you comply, you unknowingly step deeper into her design, a cycle of guilt and reward that makes you equate generosity with worth. At first, you tell yourself it's normal. After all, you want to give to make her happy. But giving becomes expectation. Expectation becomes pressure. And pressure becomes resentment. She will not stop. Because it's never about the object, it's about control. The spendthrift tests your limits to measure your devotion. Every time you say yes, you teach her how far she can push. You'll start to feel it. That silent dread when your phone buzzes with her message, knowing it means another little thing she really needs. Your love becomes a financial treadmill. You run, you pay, but you never move forward. Here's the truth most men learn too late. A woman who only knows how to receive will never know how to value. She doesn't want a partner, she wants an ATM with emotions. And when the account runs dry, financially or emotionally, she'll simply move on to the next source of love. When a woman's affection depends on what you give, not who you are, you're not in love. You're being drained. Slowly, quietly, completely. And number 2, the liar. Every lie, no matter how small, leaves a scar. And the worst kind of liar isn't the one who invents stories. It's the one who bends reality just enough to make you question your own. At first, she seems honest. She shares little confessions to appear transparent. Stories about her past, her crazy ex, the struggles she's finally over. But you'll start to notice details that don't align. Timelines shift, stories change. You'll catch her contradicting herself, and when you point it out, she'll laugh, accuse you of overthinking, or worse, make you feel guilty for noticing. That's how the trust assassin operates. She kills your confidence one doubt at a time. You start wondering if you're too sensitive, too paranoid, too demanding. Meanwhile, she hides behind charm and emotional appeal, mastering the art of the half-truth. She'll tell you enough to sound sincere, but never the full picture, because full honesty removes her control. A relationship built on half-truths becomes a battlefield of confusion. You'll start checking her words against her actions, her phone against her promises, and each time you confront her, she'll shift the spotlight. Suddenly, it's your fault for not trusting her. You'll apologize, not because you're wrong, but because you're tired. That's how lies work. They don't explode, they erode. And when you realize you can't tell what's real anymore, it's already too late. You've been emotionally disarmed. The liar thrives in your uncertainty. She knows that as long as you're busy doubting yourself, you won't question her. She doesn't crave love. She craves control over your perception. If you ever find yourself rewriting your memories to make her story make sense, stop. Truth doesn't need your defense. A woman who values honesty won't make you feel insane for asking for it. If you start doubting your memory more than her story, walk away. Because when trust dies, love doesn't die with it. It turns into fear. And living in fear of the person you love isn't romance. It's slow emotional suicide. Number 3, the chronic flirt. She walks into a room, and instantly it tilts toward her. The laughter gets louder, the eyes follow, and she glows brighter in the spotlight. You think it's charm, at first, but soon you realize she's not connecting with people, she's collecting reactions. A woman addicted to attention isn't flirting with others because she wants them. She's flirting because she needs to feel wanted. Every smile she gets is a drop of dopamine, a hit of reassurance that she's still desirable. And when you're the man in her life, you're not her partner. You're her anchor of supply, the one expected to keep feeding that need. She'll call it harmless. She'll tell you, I'm just friendly. But deep down, she knows the power it gives her. The glances, the compliments, the lingering messages, they keep her ego inflated. It's not about betrayal in the physical sense, it's emotional gambling. She bets your peace of mind against her momentary high. You'll feel it. That tension in your chest when she laughs too long at another man's joke. The way you start questioning whether you're being jealous or just observant. But that's the trap. You begin to police your own discomfort, convincing yourself you're overreacting. Meanwhile, she keeps feeding on the validation around her, acting shocked when you finally confront her. The chronic flirt doesn't cheat because she's tempted. She cheats because she's empty. She needs admiration to fill the silence of her own insecurity. And when she stops getting it from you, she'll look elsewhere, not out of malice, but out of habit. You can't love someone who uses attention as oxygen. You'll never give enough because she doesn't want your affection, she wants everyone's. And no matter how hard you try, you'll always be competing with the world. A woman who needs constant validation will never be loyal. Not because she cheats, but because she's addicted to attention. Love should bring peace. But with her, love feels like a performance you're always one applause away from losing. Number 4, the materialistic woman. With her, love is never about connection. It's about conversion. Every moment, every gesture, every conversation eventually circles back to value. Not emotional value, but material worth. She doesn't ask how your day was. She asks how much your day made. You'll notice it early, but mistake it for ambition. She'll talk about standards, security, and comfort. Words that sound reasonable until you realize they're all synonyms for money. To her, affection is a form of currency, and relationships are marketplaces. You pay in effort, time, and gifts. She repays you in attention, intimacy, and temporary warmth. It's a trade, not a bond. The danger with women like this isn't their greed, it's their emptiness. They measure love in possessions because they've never felt anything deeper. When they say, I just want to feel safe, what they really mean is, I want guarantees. And guarantees, in their world, are bought, not built. She'll praise you when you give, and withdraw when you don't. Her moods fluctuate with your wallet. When you're generous, she's affectionate. When you slow down, she turns cold. The warmth you thought was love is conditional, powered by transaction, not connection. What makes it worse is how easy it is to fall for. Because giving feels good. It feeds your instinct to provide. You'll think you're showing love, but what you're really doing is paying rent in someone else's illusion of security. Over time, you'll sense the hollowness, the silence after a gift is unwrapped, the lack of gratitude that follows your efforts. You'll start to realize that no amount of money can buy the one thing she's incapable of giving: emotional reciprocity. You can't buy love, but she'll make you believe you can, until your wallet is empty and your soul follows. When a woman values things over people, she will eventually trade you for a better offer. Because in her world, love isn't sacred, it's negotiable. And you're just the current bid. The awakening comes when you finally stop trying to prove your worth through what you can give. Because real connection doesn't come with receipts, it comes with respect. Number 5. The what's mine is mine type. You'll recognize her by how quickly everything becomes about her. Her needs, her plans, her comfort. She might call it independence, but what it really is selfishness dressed up as self-love. At first, it's refreshing. She seems confident, assertive, strong. But once you get close, that confidence turns into territory. Every part of your relationship exists to serve her. This kind of woman believes in equality, as long as she's winning. She'll expect your time, your effort, your loyalty, and your emotional support. But when it's her turn to reciprocate, she suddenly becomes too busy, too tired, or not good at expressing emotions. You'll start giving more, just to keep the peace. And without realizing it, you'll find yourself in a one-way relationship, where compromise only flows in one direction. She'll use guilt as her currency. If you ever ask for something back, attention, empathy, or simply balance, she'll twist it into selfishness on your part. "Why can't you just support me?" she'll say, while never noticing that you've been doing exactly that all along. The more you give, the more invisible you become. Your kindness doesn't inspire her, it enables her. Soon, you'll be walking on eggshells, trying not to disrupt her comfort. You'll apologize for being tired. You'll justify her coldness. You'll convince yourself that maybe this is what maturity looks like. Two people focusing on their own needs. But deep down, you'll know you're slowly disappearing. Love cannot survive when one person is always taking and never giving. It suffocates under imbalance. And with her, imbalance is the foundation. She doesn't want partnership. She wants submission disguised as devotion. You'll feel the exhaustion long before you admit it. That quiet ache of knowing you're investing in something that gives you nothing back. And one day, it will click. This isn't love. It's servitude. Love can't breathe when it's one-sided. And with her, it always is. When you finally stop feeding her sense of entitlement, she'll call you selfish. Let her. Because in truth, you've just remembered how to protect your own peace. Number 6, the insecure woman. At first, her need for reassurance feels sweet, even flattering. She wants to know where you are, who you're with, what you're doing. You tell yourself it's because she cares. But soon, you'll notice it's not curiosity. It's control. Every question hides a fear. Every fear becomes a rule. And every rule quietly reshapes your life. The insecure woman doesn't build walls to keep others out. She builds cages to keep you in. Her mind is a battlefield of comparisons. Every woman she sees is a threat. Every compliment you give is a potential betrayal. You'll start defending yourself for things you haven't done, apologizing for feelings you've never had. She'll say, "I just need to feel secure." But what she really means is, "I need you to shrink so I can breathe." Her love comes with surveillance. She'll scroll through your phone, dissect your messages, monitor your tone. When you reassure her, she'll calm down for a moment. But the peace never lasts, because insecurity can't be satisfied. It only resets. What she seeks isn't truth. It's control over her anxiety, and she'll use your loyalty as the cure. What begins as tenderness soon becomes tension. You'll feel the air grow heavy around her questions. You'll start hesitating before answering your phone, not because you're hiding anything, but because you know she'll read meaning into every pause. Slowly, your world narrows until all that matters is keeping her calm. That's not love. That's captivity. Here's the painful truth. You can't fix someone's insecurity by proving your innocence. Because the problem isn't your actions, it's her fear. And no amount of love can heal a mind that feeds on doubt. You'll try to save her, to show her she's safe. But she'll only pull you deeper into her storm. Until one day, you'll realize you've become her evidence, not her partner. You can't save someone who's drowning in their own fear. They'll only pull you under. When love becomes a constant defense, you're no longer in a relationship. You're serving a sentence. And the only way out is to stop apologizing for things you didn't do and start reclaiming your peace. Number 7, the narcissist. She shines so bright at first that you mistake her glow for warmth. Everything about her feels magnetic. Her confidence, her presence, the way she makes you feel seen. But what you don't realize is that she's not looking at you. She's looking through you to admire her own reflection in your eyes. The narcissistic woman doesn't fall in love. She recruits. You're not her partner. You're her audience. She needs admiration the way others need oxygen. Every compliment, every act of attention, every moment you spend worshipping her, it feeds her sense of superiority. And the moment you stop clapping, she starts to crumble. That's when the cruelty begins. She'll belittle you with precision, then follow it with praise just sharp enough to keep you hooked. One minute you're her hero, the next you're her disappointment. It's not random. It's design. The constant shift between affection and rejection creates confusion, and confusion keeps you obedient. The mirror queen thrives on the illusion of power. She'll always compare, always compete, always demand that the spotlight stays on her. And when you try to talk about your needs, she'll make it about herself. You'll start apologizing for existing outside her narrative. She doesn't destroy you out of hate. She does it to keep her reflection clean. Because in her world, vulnerability is weakness and empathy is leverage. She'll borrow your emotions, twist them into proof of her dominance, and leave you questioning whether the problem was ever her at all. The hardest part isn't losing her. It's losing the version of yourself you became to keep her happy. You stop recognizing the man in the mirror because every piece of him has been rewritten to fit her fantasy. When you finally break free, she'll say you changed. She'll tell her story to make you the villain, because a narcissist can't exist without one. Let her talk. Let her rewrite. Because the moment you stop fighting to be understood, you win. She was never in love with you. She was in love with the reflection of herself she saw in your devotion. And when that mirror cracked, so did her illusion of control. Number 8, the I'm not ready woman. She'll look you in the eyes, smile softly, and say the words that trap more men than any lie ever could. I'm just not ready. It sounds gentle, even honest. But underneath that softness lies something cold. A refusal to commit, wrapped in emotional ambiguity. She wants the closeness of love, but not the responsibility. She wants your attention, but not your presence. She wants the feeling of being wanted, without ever having to choose. At first, you'll believe her. You'll think she just needs time. You'll wait, you'll prove, you'll hope. You'll tell yourself that if you're patient enough, loyal enough, or understanding enough, she'll come around. But she won't. Because the truth is, she's not waiting to be ready. She's waiting to feel something she doesn't feel for you. She'll keep you in emotional limbo, not cruelly, but conveniently. You'll be the safety net she returns to when the world disappoints her. The emotional placeholder she leans on until someone else sparks her excitement again. And when that happens, she'll drift away with a line as vague as her promise. I just need to figure myself out. You'll blame yourself. You'll replay conversations, searching for the moment you pushed too hard. But here's the truth. Her indecision isn't your failure. It's her clarity. She's already decided. She just doesn't have the courage to say it outright. You'll realize something powerful the day you stop waiting. Readiness isn't timing. It's intention. When someone wants you, you'll know. There will be no confusion, no hesitation, no maybe someday. Because real love doesn't stall. It moves. If she's not ready for love, don't wait. Because what she's really not ready for is you. You don't need to convince anyone to choose you. Waiting for someone who's undecided is just another way of teaching yourself you're not enough. Walk away, not out of anger, but out of respect for your own time, your own energy, and your own worth. Because every maybe you accept delays the life you truly deserve. You've just met 8 kinds of women, but in truth they all wear the same mask. They feed off your uncertainty, your willingness to explain, your hope that love will change them. And while each of them plays a different role, the spender, the liar, the flirt, the queen, the prisoner, the mirror, the maybe, they all have one thing in common. They take until there's nothing left of you to give. What you lose in these relationships isn't just money or time or pride. It's your sense of peace. It's that quiet strength that used to make you decisive, grounded, sure of yourself. Every encounter chips away at it, not all at once, but piece by piece, until one day you look in the mirror and realize you've been living as a reaction to someone else's emotions. That's the moment men wake up. The realization that love, at its best, should build you, not bleed you. That affection without respect is just manipulation in disguise. That giving endlessly doesn't make you noble, it makes you numb. You don't owe anyone your peace. You don't need to prove you're enough. You don't have to rescue someone from their own chaos just to feel valuable. The moment you stop chasing what hurts you, you start healing from what broke you. If this video opened your eyes even a little, don't scroll away. Stay sharp. Subscribe. Share it with a man who needs to hear this. And never let another woman use your emotions as her playground. Because awareness is protection. And protection is power. Real strength isn't in loving harder. It's in knowing when to stop trying to fix what's meant to teach you. And real power? It isn't in holding on. It's in knowing when to walk away.
Gentlemen, let me ask you this. Has a woman ever said something so flattering it made you let your guard down, only for you to regret it later? Maybe she praised you for being strong or told you that you're the best she's ever had, and suddenly you found yourself solving her problems, covering her bills, or forgiving behavior you knew was wrong. That's not romance. That's strategy. The most dangerous manipulation doesn't come from harsh words. It comes from sweet ones, repeated at just the right time to bend you to her will. And once you fall for it, the price is high. Wasted years, lost money, broken trust. But here's the truth. You can spot it if you know what to look for. Today, I'll reveal the 5 sweet lies women use to control men, and the bonus red flag that proves if she's real or just using you. Science shows us this. The male brain is far more sensitive to positive reinforcement, while the female brain pays sharper attention to negative signals. What does that mean for you? It means when she drops a compliment, your guard lowers automatically. You feel validated, special, even chosen. And that's exactly why sweet talk is the perfect weapon to steer you where she wants you. Now, before we break down these 5 sweet lies, do me a quick favor. Hit that subscribe button so you'll never miss a lesson that could save you years of pain. And I want you to answer this honestly in the comments. Have you ever fallen for sweet talk before? Just a simple yes or no. Because in the next few minutes, I'm going to reveal how these words, the ones that feel so harmless, can completely shift the power in your relationship. Number 1, I love our conversations. On the surface, that sounds like the sweetest thing a woman could say. Every man wants to believe his presence, his words. His mind is so captivating that she just can't get enough. And yes, sometimes it's genuine. But when she keeps saying it while never making the effort to actually see you face to face, that's not connection. It's substitution. She's not choosing you. She's using you as a filler until something better shows up. Let me break it down. When a woman truly values your conversations, she will naturally want to match that emotional connection with a physical one. She'll make time. She'll want to sit across the table from you, to laugh together in real life, to deepen what you've already started. Words are the bridge, but action is what builds the road. If all you're getting is words and the bridge leads nowhere, you're not her man, you're her placeholder. Take David, a 52-year-old engineer who'd been divorced for a few years. He tried online dating, and he met a woman who was charming through texts. Every night she'd tell him, "I love our conversations. You're the only one who gets me." At first, David felt special. He believed he had finally found someone who appreciated his mind and his humor. But whenever he asked to meet for dinner, she had an excuse: late work, family crisis, or simply not feeling well. This happened again and again. After months of texting, he realized she never intended to meet. David wasn't her partner. He was her emotional crutch, the safe option she could lean on when she was bored or lonely, while she kept her real life open for someone else. Here's the hard truth. If a woman only engages with you on her terms, through her phone, at her convenience, you're not building intimacy, you're supplying attention. And attention is addictive. She's getting her fix of validation, while you confuse her availability to chat with genuine interest. That confusion is dangerous, because men are biologically wired to respond strongly to positive stimuli. When she sprinkles a sweet line like, "I love our conversations," your brain lights up. You mistake comfort for commitment. So how do you know if it's real? Watch what happens when you shift the frame. Invite her into your real life. Suggest coffee, a walk, a dinner. If she consistently avoids it, the message is clear. She loves the idea of having you on the hook, but she doesn't love the effort of showing up. A woman who truly values you won't just love the words you type. She'll want to feel your presence. Gentlemen, the solution is simple but not easy. Stop giving endless energy to women who refuse to meet you in reality. Don't be the emotional janitor who cleans up her boredom at midnight through text. Value your time. Value your presence. If she's not willing to match words with action, step back and invest in someone who will. And here's where it gets even trickier. Once she realizes words alone don't hold you, she might upgrade her game. That's when the compliments start pouring in and they're aimed straight at your ego. Number 2, you're so amazing, so strong, so generous. Let's be honest, what man doesn't love to hear this? When a woman tells you that you're handsome, powerful, successful, or generous, it hits the deepest part of your ego. Compliments feel like rocket fuel, especially for men. Your brain lights up with dopamine, and for a moment you feel invincible. But here's the catch. If she's only saying it to set you up for an ask, then it's not admiration. It's strategy. You see, flattery by itself isn't dangerous. We all need it, and in a healthy relationship, it flows naturally. But when every compliment is followed by a request, that's when you know you're not being celebrated. You're being softened up. It's like a salesman who tells you how smart you are right before sliding the contract across the table. She's not admiring you. She's conditioning you. Mark, a 47-year-old business owner, learned this the hard way. He started dating a woman who constantly told him, "You're so generous. You're the kindest man I've ever met." At first, Mark felt proud. Finally, someone saw his good heart. But soon, Every compliment had a price tag. Right after praising his generosity, she'd mention her phone bill that needed paying. A week later, after calling him such a strong man, she hinted about her broken fence. By the third month, it was her rent. The pattern was clear: compliments in, requests out. And Mark realized he wasn't in a romance. He was in a transaction. Here's what you need to notice: the timing. Real admiration stands on its own. Fake admiration comes with strings attached. If she tells you you're amazing and then soon after asks for money, favors, or problem solving, you're being played. And the requests don't always look financial. Sometimes it's endless rides, constant errands, or emotional labor she should be handling herself. The point isn't the size of the ask, it's the predictability of the pattern. Now here's the solution. When she gives you a compliment, don't let it cloud your judgment. Instead, pause and observe. Does the praise stand by itself, or does it open the door to a hidden agenda? One simple test: say, "Thank you," and leave it there. If she smiles and the moment stays light, that's genuine. If she pivots into, "Actually, could you help me with?" then you have your answer. Men, you need to understand this. A woman who truly values you compliments you because it brings her joy to uplift you, not because she wants to cash in on your pride. Real love fuels you. Manipulation drains you. And if you ignore this difference, you'll end up pouring your resources into someone who doesn't love you, just loves what you can provide. The truth is, your ego can be your biggest weakness. And once she learns how to play it, she'll keep pressing that button. But what happens when she hits the button that every man is most vulnerable to? The one tied directly to your masculinity in the bedroom. Number 3, you're the best lover I've ever had. Every man wants to hear this. It hits at the very core of male pride. The idea that you're not just good in bed, but the best she's ever had. It's intoxicating. For a man, being crowned the king of the bedroom feels like the ultimate validation of masculinity. But here's the harsh truth. Sometimes that line isn't about you at all. It's about control. When it's real, it shows up naturally. Maybe after a night where the chemistry was undeniable, she leans in and says, "You make me feel things no one else has." That's sincere, and you'll see it backed up by her actions. Affection, warmth, and consistent respect outside the bedroom. But when it's a tactic, it usually shows up right when she needs to distract you, pacify you, or cover something up. Imagine this. She's been distant for a few days. You sense something's off. Maybe you even confronted her about flirting online or hiding something. Instead of answering directly, she disarms you. She pulls you close, gives you that praise, and suddenly your doubts feel smaller. You think, why would she say that if she wasn't really into me? But that's the trap. The compliment isn't proof, it's camouflage. Here's why it works. Sexual validation is a hot button for men. Science shows male brains respond powerfully to positive reinforcement tied to performance. If she tells you you're the best she's ever had, it flips a switch. You feel chosen, irreplaceable, above the competition. And in that state, you're less likely to question, less likely to push back. She's not just flattering you, she's sedating your defenses. So how do you spot the difference? Look at what follows. A genuine compliment strengthens intimacy. It leads to more closeness, more mutual care. A manipulative compliment is usually followed by a request or an excuse. She might ask for forgiveness for something you caught her doing. She might expect you to overlook a red flag, or she might use it to distract you from the fact that her effort in the relationship is slipping everywhere else. Here's the solution. Don't let your pride blind you. When you hear "you're the best lover I've ever had," smile, appreciate it, but don't let it overwrite reality. Ask yourself, does her overall behavior match her words? Is she showing up outside the bedroom with the same respect, commitment, and consistency? If the answer is no, then that line isn't a compliment. It's currency. She's paying you in flattery to buy herself more freedom to act without accountability. Men, your strength lies in being able to separate your ego from your judgment. If you can enjoy the compliment without being controlled by it, you win. If not, you'll keep excusing behavior that chips away at your dignity. And here's the kicker. If she can manipulate you with intimacy, imagine what happens when she drops the 3 most powerful words in the English language. Not just, "You're amazing," not even, "You're the best," but, "I love you." Number 4. I love you. 3 little words that every man longs to hear. They can melt defenses, heal wounds, and make you feel like the center of her world. But here's the problem. Sometimes "I love you" isn't an expression of deep affection. It's a tactical move. When those words are used in the wrong context, at the wrong time, they stop being a gift and start being a tool. Let's get clear. In a healthy relationship, "I love you" flows naturally. It comes after a meaningful moment, a shared laugh, a sacrifice, or a quiet night where the bond feels undeniable. It's backed by consistency, care, respect, and actions that prove the love is real. That's when those words build intimacy. But in manipulation, the timing is everything. She might drop "I love you" right before asking for a big favor, money for bills, help with her problems, or even covering up a mistake. Or she might say it immediately after being caught in the wrong, hoping to distract you from your anger. In those moments, "I love you" becomes less about love and more about leverage. Take John, a 55-year-old man who had been in a long-term relationship. Over time, he noticed a strange pattern. Whenever he confronted his partner about hidden spending, like when she secretly took money from their joint account, her reaction was always the same. Tears in her eyes, she would whisper, "But I love you." At first, John softened. He thought, if she really loves me, maybe I'm overreacting. But eventually, he realized those words were never followed by changed behavior. They were just a shield to deflect accountability. The love was conditional. It only surfaced when she needed to neutralize his boundaries. Here's how you protect yourself. Pay attention to context, frequency, and aftermath. Does she say "I love you" in moments of genuine closeness, or only when she wants something? Does she repeat it like a broken record every time you resist, as if trying to overwrite your instincts? And most importantly, what happens after? Real love creates lasting warmth. Manipulative love vanishes the moment you give in, until the next demand. Gentlemen, the solution is simple but firm. Don't measure love by words alone. Test it against actions. When she says, "I love you," observe what follows. Does she respect your boundaries, or does she push them? Does her behavior align with her declaration, or does she use the phrase as a reset button whenever she feels cornered? If it's the latter, then those words are not a confession. They're a currency, traded for your compliance. It hurts to admit this, but it's better to face the truth now than to be drained slowly over years. Real love thrives in honesty and action. Fake love hides in timing and excuses. And if you think "I love you" can be manipulative, wait until you hear the 4 words designed to strike right at a man's protector instinct. You're my hero. Number 5. You're my hero. These 4 words can melt a man faster than anything else. Why? Because every man, deep down, wants to be seen as strong, reliable, the one she can count on. Being called hero taps into your protector instinct. It's flattering. It feels noble. It makes you believe you're indispensable. But here's the reality. Sometimes it's not admiration. It's bait. When it's sincere, "You're my hero" comes from gratitude. Maybe you helped her through a tough week, stood by her during a crisis, or simply showed up consistently. In those cases, the words are backed by appreciation. You see it in how she treats you afterward, with respect, reciprocity, and care. She admires you because she values who you are, not just what you can do. But when it's manipulation, the phrase always comes tied to a need. She calls you her hero right before asking for help with something she should be handling herself. Suddenly, being her hero means fixing her car, paying her bills, or bailing her out of a mess she created. Notice the pattern. The title of hero is dangled in front of you like a medal, but the cost of keeping it grows higher and higher. Here's the danger. Once you buy into the role, you'll start overgiving to protect the identity she created for you. You don't want to lose the admiration, so you keep proving yourself again and again. Meanwhile, she doesn't actually respect you. She's managing you. You're not her hero. You're her handyman, her financier, her safety net. So how do you tell the difference? Pay attention to how often the word shows up. Real gratitude isn't rehearsed. It's rare and genuine. Manipulation, on the other hand, is predictable. If "you're my hero" shows up every time she needs something, you're not being loved. You're being leveraged. Here's the solution. Don't let your need for validation trap you. If she calls you her hero, thank her, but don't rush into proving it. Step back and ask yourself, is this something she could and should be handling herself? Would she still call me her hero if I said no? That's the test. If the admiration disappears the moment you stop serving, it wasn't admiration at all. It was a mask. Men, remember this. You don't need a woman to crown you a hero. Your worth doesn't come from saving someone who refuses to save herself. A real partner won't need you to constantly prove your value through sacrifice. She'll admire you for who you are, not just for what you can provide. And here's where things reach the breaking point. Because while hero flatters your ego, the most dangerous phrase doesn't sound sweet at all. It's bitter, guilt-ridden, and usually comes right after you say no. And that brings us to the bonus red flag, the phrase that doesn't sound sweet at all. It's not part of the 5 sweet lies, but it's every bit as manipulative. It usually shows up at the very moment you finally push back, when you dare to say no. That's when you hear the classic guilt trip. You don't care about me. You don't love me. This one isn't designed to flatter you. It's designed to break you. The goal is to flip the script, to make you feel like the bad guy for simply protecting yourself. When a woman uses this line, she's not speaking from love or hurt. She's speaking from control. David, the 52-year-old engineer we met earlier, faced this exact trap. After months of being her texting companion, the woman he was seeing finally asked him to buy her a designer handbag. When David politely declined, explaining it wasn't his responsibility, her response was instant. If you loved me, you'd do it. You don't care about me at all. Suddenly, he wasn't a man with healthy boundaries. He was painted as selfish, cold, even cruel. And for a moment, David questioned himself. Was he being too harsh? Was he failing her? That self-doubt was exactly the reaction she wanted. Here's why this tactic works. Most men fear being seen as unloving. When she attacks that core part of your identity, you scramble to prove her wrong. You buy the gift. You cave on the boundary. You swallow your no. And the second you do, the cycle is locked in. Every time you resist, she'll reach for that same weapon. It's emotional blackmail, dressed up as a test of love. But love doesn't need constant proof. Love doesn't demand that you sacrifice your dignity to show you care. Real love respects limits. Fake love punishes them. So how do you deal with this? First, recognize it for what it is: manipulation. Don't get dragged into debating whether you care. You already know the truth. Second, respond with clarity instead of defense. Say something like, "My love isn't measured by gifts or favors. It's measured by respect." If you can't see that, then this isn't love. That response shuts down the guilt trip and shifts the responsibility back to her behavior. Men, hear me. You don't owe proof of your love every time you say no. A relationship where no is unacceptable is not a partnership. It's a hostage situation. If her affection only survives when you comply, it's not love at all. And here's the final twist. By now, you've seen how ordinary words, "I love our conversations," "You're amazing," "You're my hero," can be weaponized. It's never about the phrase itself. It's about the timing, the frequency, and the aftermath. That's the invisible pattern that decides whether you're being cherished or controlled. So let's bring this full circle. The 5 sweet lies we've uncovered. I love our conversations. You're so amazing. You're the best lover. I love you, and you're my hero. Plus, the one bitter red flag of, you don't care about me, or you don't love me, are not evil in themselves. These words are beautiful when they're sincere. But when they're used in the wrong context at the wrong time, they stop being love and start being leverage. Too many men only realize this after years of being drained, years of paying bills that weren't theirs, years of forgiving behavior that never changed, years of carrying the weight of a relationship that was never truly mutual. Don't let that be your story. You don't have to wait until you've lost money, time, and self-respect to wake up. You can see the red flags now, and you can step out before the damage gets worse. Here's the truth. Real love doesn't come with a price tag. It doesn't demand proof through endless favors or transactions. Love that is genuine stands strong even when you say no. It's shown through respect, consistency, and care, not through manipulation or guilt. So let me leave you with this. Pay attention to the patterns. If her sweetest words always come with strings attached, that's not love, it's control. And you deserve better than that. If this message spoke to you, hit that subscribe button right now so you don't miss the next video. We're just getting started on exposing these hidden dynamics. Drop a comment below and tell me, which sweet lie have you heard the most? Your story might be exactly what another man needs to hear to wake up. And don't forget to like and share this video, because the more men who see this, the fewer will fall into the same trap. Stay sharp, stay aware, and remember, the sweetest words can be the most dangerous lies.
Some relationships don't collapse. They erode you, slowly, quietly, and almost always with one of 6 types of women men are naturally drawn to without understanding why. Maybe she felt familiar. Maybe she felt exciting. Maybe she felt like someone you needed to save. But if you walked out feeling confused, drained, or unlike yourself, you're about to understand why. That's why today, I'm revealing the 6 types of women men must avoid, and the signs that expose them long before the chaos begins. This isn't about blaming women. It's about finally understanding the psychology behind the connections that derail your life. Stick with me. You're about to gain the clarity most men never get. You and I both know this. Men rarely fall for the wrong woman because they're foolish. They fall because something far deeper is at play. Patterns written into them long before they ever learned how to choose. Most men don't realize how much of their romantic life is shaped by early imprinting, the kind that makes familiarity feel like attraction. A certain tone of voice, a kind of softness, a hint of chaos, even a wounded innocence. These things can trigger memories they don't consciously remember, but still respond to. And when that feeling kicks in, logic fades fast. There's also the rush. The dopamine pull that comes when someone sparks excitement, desire, or emotional intensity. The brain loves stimulation, not stability. And that's why a man can meet a woman who feels electric and assume that feeling means destiny, when really it's just chemistry wearing a mask. Attraction becomes a fog. And inside that fog, the red flags aren't invisible. You just aren't looking for them, because part of you wants the high more than the truth. But here's the reality most men never hear. The women who drain you the most aren't evil. They simply have emotional patterns that pull you in and wear you out. Patterns you mistake for compatibility. Patterns you confuse with connection. You're not wrong for wanting to love. You're only untrained in recognizing what kind of woman you're letting close. I once coached a man who fell for a woman who lit up every room she entered. She was magnetic, exciting, impossible to ignore. And slowly, she became the storm he couldn't escape. When everything finally collapsed, he told me, "I wish someone had warned me earlier." That sentence sits with me to this day. Attraction is instinct. Selection is strategy. You can't control who pulls you in, but you can control who you allow into your life. Number 1. The chronic drama queen. The woman whose life is a constant whirlwind of chaos, intensity, and emotional fires she never stops fueling. She's bright, magnetic, and full of energy, the kind that makes you feel alive the moment she walks in. But behind that spark is a reality most men don't see until they're already trapped. She doesn't just live in drama, she needs it. It's the oxygen she breathes. Her world runs on what I call the chaos dopamine cycle. Every emotional spike gives her a rush, and every quiet moment feels like withdrawal. Stillness makes her anxious. Peace feels unfamiliar. So she stirs something, anything, to create the feeling she craves. That's why her relationships with friends, coworkers, and even family are always explosive. Not because she's unlucky, but because turmoil is her comfort zone. The signs are clearer than you think. First, everywhere she goes, conflict follows. It's always a fight with a best friend, a heated argument with a sibling, a feud at work, a misunderstanding with an ex. The details change, but the pattern never does. Second, the smallest inconvenience turns into a full-blown catastrophe. You're late 5 minutes? Suddenly she's spiraling. You didn't reply fast enough? She's convinced you're pulling away. Third, her presence slowly fills your life with negativity. Gossip, tension, and emotional fatigue that drains your energy before you even realize it's happening. And you, unintentionally, become cast in one of 2 roles: the hero she expects you to be, or the villain she blames when the chaos has nowhere else to go. Either way, you're in the story she's writing, not the life you're choosing. When you date a woman who thrives on turmoil, you don't get a relationship, you get episodes. You get unpredictable highs, followed by exhausting lows. And worst of all, you lose your peace without noticing you gave it away. A woman who thrives on chaos will eventually treat you as the source of her next episode. So pay attention to how she treats the world around her, because sooner or later, that same emotional storm will find its way to your front door. Number 2, the manipulative, nice girl. She is the kind of woman every man thinks he wants: soft-spoken, attentive, supportive, and impossibly sweet. She makes you feel chosen in a way that seems pure, harmless, safe. But what most men never realize until it's too late is that her sweetness isn't the danger, it's the camouflage. This woman doesn't control you with aggression, she controls you with tenderness. Instead of shouting, she whispers. Instead of demanding, she suggests. Instead of pushing, she gently nudges you into guilt, obligation, and self-doubt. The trap she sets is subtle, and that's why it works. She starts with what I call micro-love bombing, not the exaggerated, overwhelming kind you see from overt manipulators. No, her version is quieter, more refined. She studies what you need emotionally and mirrors it back to you in small but calculated doses. She builds the image of the perfect partner, the one who gets you, supports you, understands you. And just when you start to relax into that comfort, the conditioning begins. You'll hear phrases like, "I guess I just care too much," or "I never thought you'd treat me like this after everything I've done for you." They sound innocent, but they're not. They're emotional levers designed to make you question yourself and work harder to keep her comfortable. Her compliments shift too. They become backhanded, subtle jabs disguised as affection. "You look great today. I was starting to think you didn't care anymore." It sounds soft, but it lands sharp. And each time, your confidence erodes just a little more. In conflict, she always plays the fragile one, the misunderstood one, the one who only tried to love you. Her victimhood is strategic. It puts you into the role of comforter, and her into the role of the person you feel responsible for. Before long, you aren't loving her. You're managing her. And that is the point. A woman who uses kindness as a weapon will never love you, only manage you. The only way to see her clearly is to test consistency. Real kindness stays stable. It doesn't turn into pressure the moment you stop performing. Pay attention to whether her sweetness stands on its own, or whether it comes with strings you can't quite see but always feel tightening.
Number 3, the serial social climber. She's elegant, polished, and effortlessly charming, the kind of woman who makes you feel important simply by giving you her attention. She knows how to laugh at the right moment, how to lean in when you speak, how to make you believe she sees something special in you. But her interest isn't in who you are. It's in what being with you allows her to access. This is the woman who treats relationships like stepping stones. She has an instinct for status, not just wealth, but influence, visibility, and opportunity. In her world, people aren't partners. They're ladders. It begins innocently. She asks about your work, your goals, your lifestyle. She compliments your drive, your ambition, the way you carry yourself. But soon, the pattern emerges. First, she becomes unusually curious about your connections. She wants to know who you know, how close you are, and what they do. She lights up when you mention someone successful. Second, her attention sharpens whenever she sees that your life contains access, exclusive events, influential circles, opportunities she can't create on her own. Third, her expectations don't match her effort. She wants the luxury, the comfort, the elevated lifestyle, but contributes very little beyond presence and charm. The truth is, she's not building a relationship with you. She's positioning herself. She's aligning with your success because proximity to you elevates her image, and the moment you stop rising or stop opening doors, she starts drifting toward the next source of momentum. This kind of woman rarely leaves loudly. She just becomes slightly colder, slightly busier, slightly more distant, until she's already halfway into the life of another man who can offer her a higher rung to climb. If she loves the doors, you can open more than the man who opens them. Step back. The way to see her clearly is simple. Strip away the glamour. Take her somewhere low-key, quiet, ordinary. Remove the spotlight. If her enthusiasm drops when the status disappears, you have your answer. Genuine connection thrives in simplicity. Self-interest dies there.
Number 4, the perpetual victim. She isn't loud. She isn't chaotic. She isn't manipulative in obvious ways. In fact, she often appears gentle, wounded, and misunderstood, someone you feel naturally compelled to protect. And that's exactly why so many men fall into her orbit without realizing the emotional trap hidden beneath her softness. She is committed not to growth, but to her pain. Her identity is built around being wronged. By life, by exes, by friends, by fate. She is the center of an endless string of unfortunate events, all of which somehow happened to her, never because of her. And while her stories may be heartbreaking, there is always one constant. She is never responsible for anything. This pattern is more than bad luck. It's a psychological loop. Learned helplessness keeps her stuck in the same emotional place, repeating the same wounds with different people. Trauma bonding makes her cling to anyone who offers comfort, and seeking sympathy becomes her way of maintaining connection. Not through accountability, not through self-awareness, through pity. The signs reveal themselves slowly. First, every past relationship ended because the other person was cruel, selfish, unstable, or heartless. She has never once said, "I played a part in it." Second, every conflict in her life, from missed deadlines to broken friendships, is someone else's fault. There's always a reason, always a villain. Third, her life story is a loop of "you won't believe what happened to me again," delivered in a tone that keeps you oscillating between protecting her and worrying for her. At first, you feel noble stepping in to support her, but soon you become the emotional crutch she relies on, the person responsible for filling the void she refuses to confront. And when you can't fix everything for her, because no one can, you become the next source of disappointment, the next culprit in her ongoing narrative of pain. A woman invested in her pain cannot invest in a relationship, So watch how she responds to gentle feedback. A woman ready for growth will reflect. A woman rooted in victimhood will deflect. And that simple distinction tells you everything you need to know. Number 5, the commitment phobe in disguise. She isn't avoidant in the obvious sense. She doesn't run from affection. In fact, she gives you just enough of it to keep you hooked. She'll hold your hand, stay up all night talking, melt into you when you pull her close, and for a moment, you feel chosen, wanted, even prioritized. But don't mistake that warmth for stability. What she really wants is the feeling of connection, not the responsibility that comes with sustaining it. Her emotional pattern is rooted in fear. Fear of being trapped, fear of losing her autonomy, fear of letting someone get close enough to see parts of her she can't control. So she crafts a rhythm that allows her to feel intimacy without ever surrendering to it. A rhythm that keeps you guessing. The signs are subtle at first. First, her behavior swings between intensity and distance. One day she's glued to you, texting nonstop, wanting to see you, making plans. The next day she drifts, suddenly overwhelmed, suddenly busy, suddenly needing space. Second, she avoids defining anything. Ask her what she wants and she'll say, "Let's just enjoy the moment," or "Why rush things?" It sounds relaxed, but it's actually evasive. Third, every story from her past involves relationships that were almost something, situationships that just didn't work out, or partners who were too much too soon. What she really loves is the chase, the excitement that comes before things get real. When you're slightly out of reach, she's fully engaged. The moment you show up with clarity and consistency, she pulls back. Not because you're wrong for her, but because seriousness activates her fear. And that's the part most men misunderstand. They try harder. They become the pursuer. They start proving themselves, fixing things, smoothing the dynamic. But the more you chase her, the safer she feels running. When her affection comes and goes, it's not your worth. It's her fear. So speak plainly, call out the inconsistency, set boundaries she can't blur, and most importantly, never chase a woman whose pattern requires you to shrink your needs just to keep her close. Number 6, the overly controlling perfectionist. She appears put together, thoughtful, and deeply attentive. She remembers the little things, how you like your coffee, the exact way you fold your shirts, the tone you use when you're stressed. At first, this attention feels flattering. It feels like care. But slowly, almost imperceptibly, it shifts into something else. Correction, supervision, and control wrapped in soft language. Her sense of safety depends on order, on things being done the right way, her way. Underneath the polished exterior is a woman whose anxiety drives her to manage every detail she can touch. And when you enter her world, that impulse doesn't stop at her home, her schedule, or her routines. It extends to you. The early signs are easy to overlook. First, she begins micromanaging the smallest choices you make, how you dress, how you plan your day, even how you speak. It starts with suggestions but quickly turns into constant adjustments. Second, she disguises control as concern. You'll hear things like, "I just want what's best for you," or "I'm only saying this because I care." The words are gentle, but the expectation behind them is rigid. Third, the ratio of criticism to appreciation shifts. You find yourself hearing more about what you're doing wrong than what you're doing right. And no matter how hard you try, there's always something that could be improved. Over time, her standards, impossibly high, ever-changing, become the measure you're graded against. And what starts as helpfulness becomes suffocating. The more you adapt, the more she tightens her grip. Until eventually, you begin losing pieces of yourself just to maintain peace. The most dangerous part is that she truly believes she's helping. She doesn't see her control as control. She sees it as love, structure, and guidance. And if you ever push back, she interprets it as ingratitude or carelessness. Control dressed as care is still control. The only way to protect yourself is to set boundaries early, clearly, and firmly. If she respects them, there's hope. If she resists, argues, or reframes your limits as a personal attack, then you're not in a partnership. You're in a system she's trying to run. You've seen 6 very different women, each with her own patterns, her own charms, her own shadows. On the surface, they seem unrelated. One thrives on chaos. One manipulates through sweetness. One hunts status. One clings to pain. One fears commitment. One controls through perfection. Different stories, different behaviors, different ways of drawing a man in and wearing him down. But beneath all those differences lies a single, unmistakable thread: emotional imbalance. Each of these women pulls you into a dynamic where you're not meeting in the middle. You're compensating, you're rescuing, you're fixing, you're proving, you're absorbing, you're shrinking. Instead of standing beside her as an equal, you end up becoming a character in the emotional script she's been living long before she met you. And that script forces you into one of 3 roles: the fixer, the rescuer, or the provider of emotional energy she can't generate on her own. It feels flattering at first, being needed, being wanted, being important, but slowly, inevitably, it drains you. Because no relationship can stay healthy when one person becomes the fuel, keeping the other person emotionally afloat. These patterns linger because they target a man's deepest instincts: the desire to protect, to save, to guide, to be the steady presence someone can count on. But those instincts can turn against you when they're triggered by the wrong woman, one who doesn't grow with you, but leans on you, one who doesn't share responsibility, but hands it to you, one who doesn't build partnership, but demands emotional labor disguised as love. You don't need to change these women. You don't need to diagnose them. You don't need to fix their past or rewrite their stories. You only need to recognize that not every woman who pulls you in is meant to walk with you. You don't need to change women. You need to choose wisely. Attraction is instinct. Selection is identity. And the moment you learn to evaluate patterns instead of chasing feelings, you shift from being a man who reacts to a man who leads his own life with clarity. You've walked through 6 patterns that drain a man's strength, disrupt his peace, and erode his sense of self. And if there's one truth I want you to carry with you long after this video ends, it's this: loving someone isn't the hard part. Choosing someone who protects your peace, respects your boundaries, and matches your emotional maturity, that's where most men fall. Women aren't the enemy, not the dramatic ones, not the sweet manipulators, not the social climbers, not the wounded souls, not the avoidant flirters, not the perfectionists. None of them are villains. They simply carry emotional dynamics that may not align with the life you're trying to build. They aren't bad. They're just not right for a man who values stability, clarity, and reciprocity. And you deserve those things more than you realize. Because as a man, you are taught to endure, to tolerate, to push through discomfort and call it strength. But real strength isn't staying in situations that drain you. It's recognizing when a connection is costing you more than it gives back. It's knowing when to step away, not from love itself, but from versions of love that require you to abandon your peace to keep the relationship alive. Every red flag you learn to recognize is a piece of your future you're protecting. Every boundary you set is a safeguard for the life you're trying to build. And every moment you choose clarity over chaos is a moment you reclaim control over your emotional world. So I'll leave you with a question, and I want you to answer it honestly in the comments. Which of these 6 patterns have you met in your own life, and what did it teach you about yourself? If this video helped you see relationships more clearly, subscribe to the channel. This space exists to help men navigate modern love with insight, confidence, and authority. Like the video if you want more men to avoid the mistakes you've already survived. Share it with someone who needs the wake-up call. And join the conversation below. Your experiences might be the message another man needs today. Walk forward with clarity. Choose with intention. And ask yourself this: why do smart, successful men still get destroyed in love? Why do men with money, power, and discipline still end up cheated on, divorced, or used as backups? It's not because they're weak, it's because they're blind. Blind to the 4 brutal truths women live by but will never confess. And if you don't face these truths, it doesn't matter how strong or successful you are, you will lose in love. But the moment you understand them, everything changes. In this video, I'll reveal the 4 brutal truths that women will never admit, but every man needs to hear before it's too late. If you think you already know everything about women, this video will test that belief. I've worked with men who swore they understood it all, until these truths crushed their assumptions. Subscribe right now, like this video, and tell me in the comments, are you open to having your illusions shattered? Because the first truth I'm about to share will challenge everything you thought you knew about love and commitment. Number 1. In many relationships, women judge your future, while men must judge her past. Most men step into relationships blind to this brutal asymmetry. Many women are wired by nature to scan forward. They look at you and silently calculate, can he provide stability? Can he navigate storms? Will he protect me and elevate my life? Or will he collapse when pressure arrives? For a woman, a man's romantic past is often irrelevant. A man could have dated 100 women, and in her eyes it can prove he has experience, social proof, and a sense of status. His history can become an asset, not a liability. But men, you do not have that same luxury. For you, her past matters deeply. And it is here that too many of you stumble, because you are told to ignore it, to be progressive, to not judge. Yet a woman's history is the greatest predictor of her future with you. A woman who has cycled through chaotic relationships, who has built a trail of broken commitments, who has treated intimacy like a hobby. These are not minor details. They are warning signals. Why does this matter? Because patterns repeat. A woman who struggled to attach before will struggle again. A woman who has lived in drama will unconsciously create it again. And if you ignore this truth, you will not simply inherit her affection, you will inherit her unresolved baggage. Think of it like buying a house. You do not just look at the shiny kitchen, you ask about the foundation. Was it flooded before? Has it been repaired poorly? Because if you do not, you will discover the cracks when they are already destroying your investment. A woman's past is the foundation. Ignore it, and you will build your life on quicksand. I have seen too many men learn this lesson the hard way. A man falls for charm and beauty. He convinces himself he is the one who will finally tame her chaos. For 6 months, everything seems intoxicating. Then the cracks appear. The late-night arguments, the unresolved loyalty issues, the endless comparisons to exes. Suddenly, he realizes he did not meet a partner ready for commitment. He adopted a storm disguised as love. The brutal reality is this: a woman's past tells you the truth she will never advertise. She will not hand you a resume of mistakes. She will not confess the drama she has created before. But those stories are carved into her habits, her reflexes, her triggers. You either read them carefully, or you end up paying the price for that oversight. Now some men will object, but shouldn't we forgive? Shouldn't we give her a clean slate? Forgiveness is one thing, blindness is another. You can forgive her past and still recognize that it may make her incompatible for a future with you. Choosing to ignore it is not compassion. It is self-destruction. Let me make this clear. Your job as a man is not to judge her harshly, not to shame her, but to evaluate with open eyes. Is this woman's history aligned with the future you want to build? Or are you seducing yourself into denial because you are lonely? Most men who fail in love are not defeated by women. They are defeated by their own refusal to see the truth staring them in the face. And the painful truth is this: a woman's past tells you everything about her future with you. Ignore these patterns, and you risk paying a heavy price. That is not cruelty, that is cause and effect. So, do not approach women with naive hope. Approach them with discernment. Study her patterns, not just her words. Watch how she has treated commitment before, not just how she promises to treat you now. Because the man who filters wisely will save himself years of wasted time and endless heartbreak. Number 2, modern dating culture often creates inflated expectations. Today, it's common to see a belief that a woman deserves a king while bringing nothing but chaos to his throne. This is not an insult. It is a brutal observation that has been proven again and again in the modern dating landscape. Let's break it down. From a psychological standpoint, many women are wired to seek partners who can provide greater stability or status. This is a natural instinct to reach up, not sideways or down. In itself, it is neither good nor bad. It is simply human nature. The problem is when this instinct collides with modern culture, social media, dating apps, and a flood of attention from desperate men, and suddenly a person's self-perception inflates far beyond reality. Here's the picture. A woman in her late 30s, 2 children from previous relationships, still believes she can command the loyalty of a wealthy, high-status man who makes more than she does, is more competent than she is, and has no interest in raising another man's children. Why? Because for years she has been conditioned to think she deserves the very best. Every like on her photos, every message in her inbox, every man offering free attention reinforces the illusion. I am valuable no matter what. But value in the dating marketplace is not measured by likes or comments. It is measured by desirability and long-term viability. Harsh as it sounds, a woman's prime window of attraction often peaks in her early 20s. That is when beauty, fertility, and youth converge. Men, on the other hand, frequently peak later in their late 30s or 40s once they have built competence, resources, and status. So while a man's value can climb with time, a woman's tends to decline unless paired with exceptional character and loyalty. Yet this reality is often ignored. Some women believe earning a high salary offsets everything else. They think degrees and promotions make them more appealing to high-value men. But here's the truth. Men do not typically share their resources the way women do. A successful man will use his wealth to support his partner. A successful woman rarely shares her wealth in the same way. Her money is hers, his money is theirs. And this creates a brutal mismatch when she expects him to out-earn her just to qualify. I have spoken with countless men who run into this exact wall. They meet women who bring long lists of demands. Must be funny, must be strong, must be kind, must love her children as his own, must out-earn her, must be more ambitious than her, must carry the confidence of an alpha and the patience of a saint. Meanwhile, what does she bring? Baggage, obligations, and an inflated sense of entitlement that bears no resemblance to her actual position in the marketplace. This is why so many men end up burned out. They think if they just keep improving themselves, if they check one more box on her endless list, then she will finally commit. But that list was never meant to be completed. It was meant to keep you chasing, to keep her feeling like the prize while you exhaust yourself, proving you are worthy. And that's when the brutal realization hits. Her checklist has 200 boxes, and you, her plan B, are supposed to tick them all. That is not love. That is delusion. Now let me be clear. Not every woman has these expectations. Some understand their reality and adjust with grace. But the modern dating culture rewards the opposite. Women with inflated standards gain attention, validation, and a sense of power, even if that power collapses when faced with real commitment. For men, the lesson is straightforward. Do not negotiate with fantasy. If you find yourself with a woman whose demands outweigh her contributions, you are not her partner, you are her unpaid employee. And if you accept that role, she will never respect you, because deep down, she knows she has placed herself above what she can realistically command. You must flip the script. Instead of asking, how can I meet her standards? Ask, do her standards even make sense? Do they align with reality, or are they inflated by ego and external validation? That single shift in mindset will save you from countless wasted years. Men who thrive in love do not chase entitlement. They set boundaries. They recognize when a woman's expectations are incompatible with reality, and they walk away even when she is attractive, even when she seems charming. Because a relationship built on delusion will always collapse under its own weight. And the cold, undeniable truth is this: modern culture often leads women to believe they are worth far more than they truly bring to the table. If you do not see it clearly, you will become the man who sacrifices everything just to prove you are enough, and still ends up discarded when she realizes she was chasing a fantasy. So, stop chasing impossible checklists. Stop negotiating with entitlement. Build your value as a man, not to impress women who cannot be satisfied, but to attract those rare women who see reality, respect boundaries, and are capable of genuine partnership. That is how you win, not by being her fantasy provider, but by being the man who refuses to play in a rigged game. Number 3, there are no perfect partners, only untold stories. The fairy tale lives deep inside every man. You believe somewhere out there is a woman untouched by chaos, immune to temptation, immune to betrayal. You tell yourself if you just search hard enough, you will find the perfect one, the flawless partner. But here is the brutal truth: that flawless partner does not exist. The only difference between someone who seems perfect and someone who seems flawed is the story they have not told you yet. Human beings are not blank slates. Every woman you meet carries a history, relationships, mistakes, choices, secrets. Some of those stories are visible, many are not. When you meet her, you only see the curated version, the polished highlights. What you do not see is the hidden archive. The late-night regrets, the impulsive flings, the questionable decisions she would rather erase. And because she knows these stories could ruin her image, she will not reveal them willingly. This is not cynicism, it is psychology. People present the best version of themselves to secure connection. But when men buy into the illusion of a perfect partner, they blind themselves. They believe her silence equals purity. They assume her lack of confession equals lack of past. That assumption destroys men, because when the truth eventually surfaces, and it almost always does, the betrayal cuts twice as deep. First, you feel the pain of what actually happened. Second, you feel the sting of your own denial. I once spoke with a man who built his entire life around a woman he swore was different. She dressed conservatively, avoided nightlife, and spoke about loyalty. For 3 years, he believed he had found the exception. Then, one casual conversation with one of her old friends revealed a side of her past he never imagined. Multiple partners in her early 20s, a reputation for drama, stories she had carefully hidden. He was devastated, not because of the past itself, but because of the illusion he had chosen to believe. The marketplace has changed. Social media, dating apps, endless validation. These platforms have given every woman the opportunity to curate a polished image. She can filter photos, filter stories, filter reality. But behind the curtain, the same dynamics exist. Attraction, temptation, impulsivity. They do not vanish just because she looks innocent. Let's be blunt. Stop chasing the fairy tale. There are no angels in the marketplace, Only human beings with pasts they will not confess. Believing otherwise is not hope. It is self-deception. So what should you do? The answer is not paranoia. It is not interrogating her about every choice she ever made. It is discernment. Instead of asking, is she a perfect partner? Ask, what patterns are visible in her actions? How does she handle temptation? How does she handle responsibility? Because while the past cannot be erased, the present reveals whether she has grown from it or whether she is still repeating it. The mistake men make is assuming they need purity. What you actually need is consistency. You need a partner whose current behavior proves she is disciplined, loyal, and stable. If she hides, deflects, or lashes out when you ask simple questions, that is not a sign of innocence. That is a sign of stories she does not want you to discover. And the dangerous consequence is this. When you idolize the idea of a perfect partner, you blind yourself to reality. You hand over your trust without requiring proof. And in doing so, you set yourself up for the very betrayal you fear most. The woman you believed was different turns out to be human, flawed, imperfect, carrying scars like everyone else. The men who succeed in love are not the ones who find unicorns. They are the ones who accept that no one is flawless and who set boundaries that filter out destructive patterns. They do not chase illusions. They measure reality, and because of that, they are harder to manipulate, harder to blind, harder to break. So, stop searching for the perfect woman. She does not exist. Start searching for alignment between words and actions. Look for consistency, not perfection. And remember, every person has untold stories. The question is not whether they have a past. The question is whether you can live with it. Number 4. You may not actually be her first choice. This is the hardest pill for men to swallow. When she chose you, someone else may still have been on her mind, and in too many cases, that ghost never leaves. Psychologists describe this as an emotional imprint from a peak experience. When a woman once connected with a man who awakened her strongest attraction, whether through charm, dominance, or chemistry, that memory embeds itself deep in her psyche. Even if that relationship collapsed, even if years have passed, she can carry a lingering attachment to it into every new relationship. She may be with you in body, but part of her is still with him in spirit. Here is how it plays out. A man dates a woman, invests himself, commits fully. Everything seems fine on the surface. Then, in a quiet moment, he discovers evidence, a hidden message, an old photo she cannot delete, a comparison she let slip during an argument. Suddenly, he realizes he is competing with a memory he can never defeat. Because you cannot outshine a ghost. You cannot win against the pedestal she built for another man. This is not about paranoia. It is about reality. Many men enter relationships assuming once commitment is made, the past is erased. But a woman's feelings do not obey logic. She can agree to exclusivity and still long for the man who once stirred her deepest desire. And when that longing lingers, you are no longer her first choice. You are her safety net. Make no mistake, the price for ignoring this is crippling. A man who is not her first choice will rarely receive her full devotion. He will receive her compliance, her companionship, perhaps even her affection, but not her fire, not her deepest respect, not her unfiltered desire. Over time, this imbalance erodes him. He compromises, he concedes, he bends to keep her satisfied. Each concession makes him smaller, weaker, less attractive, until eventually she leaves, or worse, she stays and slowly destroys his confidence with quiet contempt. I recall a story of a man who discovered an email his girlfriend had written days after agreeing to exclusivity with him. In that email, she was begging another man to take her back, promising they would have beautiful children together, insisting they were perfect for each other. To the man reading it, the truth shattered him. He thought he was building a future with her. In reality, he was nothing more than a rebound, a placeholder, while she pined for someone else. And the brutal bottom line is this: if you are not her first choice, you will never get her best. You will only get what is left. And what is left will never be enough. So, how do you protect yourself? First, listen to your intuition. If something feels off, if you sense she is emotionally elsewhere, do not ignore it. Second, observe her behavior. Does she speak often about her past relationships? Does she compare you, even subtly, to someone before? Does she seem lukewarm in her admiration of you, like she is going through the motions? These are signs she may still be attached to another man. And here is the most important step. Never settle for being the backup plan. It is better to be alone than to build your life with someone who secretly longs for another, because you deserve more than borrowed affection. You deserve a woman who sees you as her priority, not her consolation prize. The men who win in love are not the ones who tolerate being second. They are the ones who walk away when they realize they are not first. They refuse to fight a losing battle against a ghost. And because of that, they keep their self-respect intact, their confidence unbroken, and their standards high. So, do not waste years trying to convince a woman to forget the man she once adored. Do not bleed yourself dry attempting to prove you are better. If you sense you are not her first choice, step back. Because while you cannot control who imprinted on her heart, you can control who you give yours to. Most men lose in love not because women are impossible to understand, but because they refuse to confront the truths that are right in front of them. Over the last few minutes, you have seen 4 brutal realities. In many relationships, women judge your future, while you must judge her past. Modern dating culture often creates inflated expectations. There are no perfect partners waiting for you, only human beings with untold stories. And perhaps most painfully, you may not be her first choice, no matter how much she commits with words. When you put these truths together, the picture becomes clear. Love in the modern world is not about finding perfection. It is about seeing reality without filters. Too many men step into relationships blind, hoping to rewrite a woman's history, hoping to satisfy demands that cannot be met, hoping to be the exception in her story. That blindness costs them years of time, mountains of energy, and sometimes their entire identity. The men who win are the men who wake up. They stop negotiating with fantasy. They stop searching for unicorns. They stop begging for validation from women who were never invested in them. Instead, they set boundaries. They evaluate with clarity. They demand alignment between words and actions. They accept nothing less than being a woman's first choice. Now you see the code in the matrix. The question is no longer whether these truths are fair. The question is whether you will continue pretending, or whether you will finally play the game with your eyes open. If even one of these truths hit you hard, that means you needed to hear it. Do not keep it to yourself. Share this video with a brother who is still walking blind, who needs the wake-up call before it is too late. Drop your thoughts in the comments, because your story might help another man recognize his own. And before you leave, hit subscribe. Every week, we break down the hidden dynamics of love and power, so fewer men lose themselves in illusions. The world will not hand you the truth. These realities will not be confessed openly. That is why you must face them, accept them, and use them as weapons to protect your future. Because the only men who win in love are the men who refuse to play by lies. Every man has a breaking point. The moment he finally decides that peace is worth more than proximity. That love without respect isn't love, it's debt. You don't have to keep proving your worth to someone who keeps testing it. And you don't have to forgive what destroys you just to feel loved, because real strength isn't endurance, it's boundaries. In this video, we're going to expose the 10 things you should never forgive a woman for in a relationship. And more importantly, how walking away from them might be the first time you ever chose yourself. There's a hidden rule no one tells you about relationships. The one who fears loss the most always has the least power. That's why manipulators thrive on your forgiveness. It gives them proof that you won't leave. But here's the twist. The real leverage isn't in love, it's in boundaries. Once you understand that, everything changes. If you've ever wanted to understand how emotional power really works, like this video and subscribe now. Comment yes if you've ever stayed silent just to keep the peace, or no if you've already learned to walk away. Because the first thing I'm about to uncover isn't about her lies, it's about how easily men let them slide. Number 1. Chronic lies and alternate realities. It never starts with a big lie. It begins with something small, tiny enough that you brush it off. She says she was home when she wasn't. Says a message was from a friend when it wasn't. The price of the dress. The story about where she went. Details so minor you'd feel ridiculous calling them out. That's exactly the point. The first lie is a test. Not of your intelligence, but of your boundaries. A woman who lies habitually isn't trying to hide mistakes. She's crafting a world where she decides what's real. Every deception that goes unchecked becomes proof that you'll choose peace over truth. And once she learns that lesson, the lies evolve. They move from white lies to full-blown fabrications, secret accounts, double lives, rewritten timelines that make you question your memory. You stop confronting her because it's easier to doubt yourself than to accept what she's done. That's how manipulation begins, by exhausting your sense of reality until you surrender it entirely. The goal isn't simply to deceive you, it's to make you depend on her version of events. You'll start defending her lies to other people. You'll start lying to yourself, telling yourself she means well. That's how she wins. Because once she decides that lying to you is acceptable, she's decided that your truth doesn't matter. And when your truth no longer matters, you're not in a relationship. You're in her illusion. Number 2. Public humiliation disguised as humor. It sounds harmless at first, a story told at dinner. A teasing remark in front of friends. A little laugh at your expense. She says, "Relax, it's just a joke." Everyone laughs, except you. You smile to keep the peace, but deep down, something twists. Because you know what really happened. She wasn't trying to be funny. She was trying to remind everyone who's in control. When a woman repeatedly mocks you in public, your habits, your mistakes, your ambitions, she's not building connection. She's broadcasting hierarchy. Each laugh she earns from others is another brick in the wall of dominance she's constructing over you. And when you confront her about it, she flips the script. You're too sensitive, or you can't take a joke. Now you're not only the punchline, you're the problem. Psychologically, this is contempt disguised as intimacy. Contempt doesn't scream. It smirks. It kills slowly, stripping your dignity one funny story at a time. Once she learns she can mock you without consequence, respect begins to die. And when respect dies, love follows. A woman who loves you protects your image in public. She guards your reputation because she values what you represent together. A woman who ridicules you seeks power, not partnership. So the next time she turns you into the joke to make herself look superior, don't laugh with her. Understand what's really happening. She's not sharing humor, she's sharing contempt. And once a woman laughs at you in public, the relationship is already dying in private. Number 3, emotional manipulation and guilt traps. She doesn't raise her voice. She doesn't threaten. She simply makes you feel like a bad man for having boundaries. If you really loved me, you don't care about me anymore. I guess I'm just not enough for you. Every word is designed to twist your compassion into compliance. You're not arguing with logic. You're negotiating with guilt. Emotional manipulation is one of the most sophisticated forms of control because it hides behind the illusion of love. She studies your triggers, your fears, your need to protect. She knows exactly which button to press to make you fold. The tears, the trembling voice, the silence that punishes, it's all part of the performance. And because you're kind, because you want peace, you surrender. You stop saying no. You start apologizing for things you didn't do. What she's really doing is teaching you that her emotions are your responsibility, that your worth is measured by how well you can fix her mood. And once she conditions you to accept that burden, you lose the right to your own feelings. You exist to regulate hers. That isn't love. That's emotional servitude. A woman who truly loves you won't weaponize your empathy. She won't use her pain to control your behavior. She'll communicate, not manipulate. So remember this. Love that demands guilt isn't love. It's leverage. And the moment you start feeling guilty for protecting your peace, you're no longer in a relationship. You're in captivity. Love doesn't require submission. If her love needs you to feel guilty, it isn't love. Number 4. Boundary violation disguised as intimacy. She says it's because she loves you. That's why she checks your phone, your messages, your location. That's why she asks where you've been, who you've talked to, why you didn't answer fast enough. She'll call it transparency. She'll call it closeness. But what it really is, control dressed as affection. A woman who violates your privacy isn't looking for connection. She's looking for confirmation that she owns you. Every time she crosses a boundary and you let it slide, she learns that your autonomy is negotiable. What begins as curiosity turns into interrogation. What starts as, I just worry about you, becomes, I don't trust you. And soon, you'll find yourself explaining every move, every call, every minute, as if you're the one on trial. In healthy relationships, intimacy and individuality coexist. You can be deeply connected and still have private thoughts, personal space, and independence. But when someone equates love with constant access, that isn't intimacy. It's surveillance. You stop being a partner and start being property. This kind of behavior corrodes your sense of self. You begin to shrink, editing your actions to avoid accusations. You stop sharing the truth because honesty will only be used against you. And eventually, you lose the quiet confidence of being your own man. Love never demands surrender of identity. Love respects the walls that protect your peace. So remember, a woman who doesn't respect your boundaries doesn't love you. She wants to own you. And once ownership replaces respect, love doesn't live there anymore. Number 5. Physical or property aggression. It starts with something you can excuse. A slammed door, a broken glass, a shove during an argument. She cries afterward, says she just got overwhelmed, that it will never happen again. You want to believe her, because the alternative means admitting you're no longer safe. But make no mistake, aggression is not an accident. It's a message. It says, I will use fear to control you. Violence in any form, against you, your belongings, or your space, is the purest expression of dominance. It isn't passion. It isn't frustration. It's a power play. People don't lose control randomly. They choose when, where, and with whom to explode. She doesn't throw things at her boss. She doesn't shove her friends. She only does it to you because she knows you'll stay. And that's how it escalates. The first push becomes a grab. The grab becomes a slap, then a punch through the wall near your head. Every time you forgive, she learns the same lesson. Fear works. It keeps you quiet. It keeps you compliant. Until one day, it's not a wall. It's you. When love turns physical, it stops being love. There is no justification, no emotional context that redeems it. Real love protects. It never threatens. So if she's breaking things to make a point, understand what she's really saying. She's willing to destroy what's yours to remind you who has control. If she can break objects today, she'll break you tomorrow. Walk away before she does. Number 6, financial control and exploitation. Love doesn't justify imbalance, but in toxic relationships, money becomes the silent leash. It starts subtly. She forgets her wallet, borrows and never pays back, says you're better with money anyway. Then the narrative changes. Suddenly your income is our money, but hers is her freedom. She'll call it sharing. She'll call it teamwork. But it's not partnership if one person is carrying all the weight. Financial control isn't about bills or budgets. It's about power. The moment you become the only provider, or worse, the one being drained, the balance shifts. Every purchase turns into a test of loyalty. Every disagreement becomes a guilt trip about how ungrateful you are. After everything I do for you, you start second-guessing your own spending while she feels entitled to yours. That's not love. That's control disguised as dependence. And when she sabotages your career, discourages your ambition, or subtly mocks your goals, understand the strategy. The less you have, the less you can leave. Financial dependence keeps people trapped longer than fear ever could. Because when she holds the wallet, she holds your options, your ability to walk away, your independence, your dignity. Money isn't about greed, it's about freedom. It represents your time, your effort, your choices. Everything that makes you an individual. A woman who truly loves you won't want to own your freedom. She'll want to build alongside it. So don't mistake financial exploitation for intimacy. It's not romance, it's leverage. And when she controls it, she controls you. Number 7, isolation from friends and family. It never happens overnight. It begins with little comments. Your friends don't really get us. Your family doesn't like me. You're different when you're around them. At first, it sounds like insecurity. You reassure her, promise balance. But soon, every outing becomes a negotiation. Every visit feels like betrayal. Until one day, you realize you haven't seen your friends in months, and she's the only voice in your life that's left. Isolation is the most effective control tactic because it's invisible. No one can warn you when no one is allowed near you. She'll say she just wants more time together. She'll claim others are jealous, negative, or toxic. But what she's really doing is cutting you off from your reality check, the people who'd notice the manipulation before you do. Once you lose your outside connections, you lose perspective. You stop hearing the truth because the only feedback you get is hers. And when her voice becomes your entire world, her version of reality becomes law. That's how emotional captivity works, not with chains, but with silence. Healthy love connects you deeper to the world, not further from it. The right woman will want to meet your friends, know your family, and stand beside you in your community, not replace it with herself. When you find yourself explaining why you don't see anyone anymore, that's not love protecting you. That's control isolating you. And when she becomes your only world, you stop existing in your own. Number 8, infidelity and betrayal. Cheating isn't an accident. It's not something that just happened. It's a chain of deliberate decisions to cross a boundary, to deceive, to risk everything sacred between you for something temporary. It begins long before the act itself. With a text not deleted, a look held too long, a conversation that drifts where it shouldn't. And every step she knows what she's doing. She just believes she won't get caught. Or worse, that you'll forgive her if she is. Infidelity is not about passion. It's about entitlement. It's the belief that her desires matter more than your trust, that her impulses are worth the pain they cause. And when caught, the script is always the same. We were going through a rough patch. You weren't giving me what I needed. It didn't mean anything. But every excuse only reinforces the truth. She chose selfishness over respect. Forgiveness won't restore what was broken, because infidelity doesn't just destroy trust, it rewrites it. Once she's crossed that line, you'll never again believe her words the same way. Every text will carry suspicion. Every silence will echo. You'll live in a state of quiet vigilance, guarding yourself from someone who should have been guarding you. A woman who betrays you has already told you who she is. Someone willing to risk your dignity for her convenience. And the hardest part isn't losing her. It's realizing she was never who you thought she was. Cheating isn't a mistake. It's a message. Believe it. Number 9. Weaponizing your vulnerabilities. It always starts in moments of closeness. You open up because you trust her. You tell her about the things you've survived, the fears you hide, the insecurities you never share. You believe you're building intimacy. What you don't realize is that she's quietly taking notes. Then one day, in the heat of an argument, she fires the first shot. The very pain you confessed in confidence becomes her weapon. Your childhood trauma, your failures, the mistakes you told her because you thought love meant safety. Now they're ammunition, fired back at you with surgical precision to win an argument, to make you feel small, to break your defenses. This isn't passion. This isn't loss of control. This is strategy. It's psychological warfare disguised as vulnerability. Once she learns that exposing your wounds gets results, she'll do it again. Because nothing gives a manipulator more power than the ability to make you bleed with your own truth. The cost of this betrayal is deeper than anger. It's silence. You stop sharing. You stop trusting. You start guarding every thought, every emotion. The relationship may look alive, but it's emotionally dead, because intimacy cannot exist where safety has been violated. A woman who uses your pain against you doesn't understand it. She exploits it. Real love shelters your wounds. It never weaponizes them. So the next time someone turns your confessions into knives, don't make excuses for her cruelty. Once she uses your pain against you, she's no longer your partner. She's your enemy. Number 10. The abuse apology love bombing cycle. This one is the most dangerous because it feels like love. She hurts you with words, with contempt, with control, then rushes in to fix it. Tears, apologies, promises to change. Suddenly she's affectionate again, cooking your favorite meal, whispering how much she needs you. For a moment it feels like peace. You tell yourself it's over. You want to believe it's different this time. But it's not. It's just the calm between storms. This is how trauma bonding works. The human brain confuses relief with love. After pain, kindness feels euphoric. You start craving her affection not because it's good, but because it temporarily stops the bad. You become addicted to the highs she controls, and she knows it. That's why the cycle always restarts. The next outburst, the next insult, the next apology. Each round, shorter, sharper, crueler, until you can't tell where love ends and damage begins. This isn't love evolving. It's control tightening. She's not trying to heal the wound. She's keeping it open, just clean enough for you to stay. Because as long as you're waiting for the good version of her to return, you'll never leave. Healthy relationships don't require recovery periods. They don't need grand gestures to erase harm. They don't destroy you one day and adore you the next. So don't mistake the apology for transformation. Don't mistake affection for safety. She's not changing. She's resetting the trap. Forgiving the unforgivable doesn't make you noble. It makes you disappear. Every time you excuse a lie, a humiliation, a manipulation, a betrayal, you chip away at the man you used to be. You tell yourself it's compassion, understanding, maturity. But what it really is surrender, piece by piece, until there's nothing left to defend. The truth is, you can't love a woman into respecting you. You can't fix someone who finds power in your pain. You can't negotiate with someone who thrives on your forgiveness. Real love doesn't demand endless tolerance. It doesn't test how much you can endure before you break. Real love values your peace, not your suffering. If you stay with someone who crosses these lines, you don't just lose trust, you lose yourself. You become a shadow of the man you were, always apologizing, always explaining, always waiting for the next apology that will never mean anything. Your silence becomes complicity, your endurance becomes permission. And eventually, she won't even need to ask for forgiveness, because you'll already be giving it. But leaving? That's different. Leaving isn't failure. It's recognition. It's choosing yourself over chaos, self-respect over illusion. It's reclaiming the time and energy you've been giving to someone who never deserved it. And once you walk away, something powerful happens. You remember who you were before you started shrinking to fit someone else's comfort. So, if this message woke something up in you, don't stay silent. Comment below and tell your story, not to shame anyone, but to help another man recognize himself before it's too late. Share this with someone who's forgetting his worth, and subscribe, because this space isn't about hate or bitterness. It's where men remember who they are. You don't need to forgive the unforgivable.